Welcome back to the Auto Ranch. It's been a little while since we've talked about a car that's kind of a channel favorite, and certainly one of my favorite cars that I had the privilege to own in my life. The 92 Nissan Sentra SE-R. Some of you have reached out and asked me, whatever happened to that car, and is it still for sale? It's no longer for sale. I actually did sell that car a couple of weeks ago. Of all places, Facebook Marketplace. Who would have thought, right? You can sell a classic car there after all. I think a lot of people, myself included, you think, like Bring a Trailer or Cars and Bids, and it used to be eBay Motors, though I don't think it's the case anymore. Those were the places, those are the places to sell those type of cars. But the reality is, and you can check out the video I did on, kind of my failure with the Bring a Trailer auction a month or two ago, and why, that came to be. And I think what I said in there proved to be true. We just didn't have the right audience, and you would have assumed that site would have been the right place, but it wasn't. The car ended up going, I listed it on Facebook Marketplace, I think it was on a Friday, and I'll put this up so you can see it for your own eyes. Within like 5 or 6 hours, it had almost 10,000 clicks on Facebook, and like 252 either shares or saves it'll show you on the screen, and then another 150 that were either saved or shared. I can't remember offhand right now, but you'll see it. And that's incredible. I mean, that's for like 5 or 6 hours. I mean, that shows you the level of interest that people have in these Sentra SE-Rs. And certainly the price of it listed drew a good chunk of those people. I know that. But the fact is, people saw that car and were interested. And this is, it's one of those cars, I missed that car. And I knew when I sold it, I'd regret it. But life changes, space needs change. And it went to a place where somebody's who had a love for that car also, owns a museum. And that car will probably spend out, its life there. Or maybe someday down the road, you'll see it at Barrett Jackson or Mecum. As I've said before, those SE-Rs from that generation are special cars. They mean a lot to all of us. And as we get older and kids start leaving home and you have disposable income to spend, you will go back to your youth and you will reminisce about the cars that you had. And for a lot of us that grew up during that time, that car will be significant. And that particular car is a unicorn. I've said it before, I'm very grateful that I had the chance to own that car for a year. It's a one-off car with 700 miles. They just don't exist. And I think that's where people fail on that car. And, in all fairness, on Facebook Marketplace, you have to deal with a certain amount of riffraff. You do on any of those sites when you sell it. People, I would call them either dreamers or they're just not aware of how to properly appraise a car like that's a one-off car. And I will admit, I'm not an expert on one-off cars, but I have a careers-long experience putting values on vehicles. And some of the comments that I got about that car and its price were somewhat comical, but I'll save you that and the embarrassment for anybody who may be watching. But the reality is, and it went to a private collector. The information about the car, you don't have to be an internet super sleuth. I'll, in respect for his privacy, I'll let you find it. It's out there. Certainly I'm not going to disclose, the price. That's his business. But it sold for significantly more than it did on the last Bring a Trailer auction. And I saw a couple people, on some of the forums were saying when that auction, Bring a Trailer auction ended, that the market had spoken. And as I addressed in the other video about that, yeah, the market on that day, with the people that were watching it on that day, it did speak. But the market has spoken now on what the true value of the vehicle is. And honestly, it probably was a little light. Obviously I'm biased there, but it sold for where I would have been comfortable letting it go. and I'm happy for the person that bought it. Like I said, the love of these cars will eventually make that car double its value, and I am not 100% sure in the next 20 years that car won't bring 6 figures at one of those auctions. Because like I said, it's not your 50,000 mile car even, or your 100,000 mile car that a lot of us love and enjoy. It is a one-off car. It is a classic that belongs to the museum. And I think that's where I struggled with that car, is I really wanted to enjoy it and drive it and sort of reminisce about my youth, but that was not the car. For that amount of money I had invested in that, that's a collector car. I'd love to find a 50,000 mile one that's in great shape for 50,000 miles and be able to drive it. And maybe someday I will. But I at least wanted to close the loop, because I know a lot of people had asked. And that's what happened to it. And I said that, in the last video, I probably would offer it up for sale this spring, and I did. And it went to somebody that loves those cars and loves other early Japanese sports cars. So I'm happy for that. There's a lot of new cars coming on the channel. Obviously I have 2 new ones here, BMW M2 and a ND Miata Club. That I'll be, doing some content on. I also have several cars on order this year, including a Nissan Z that I'm excited to try out. Like anybody, that no one knows what the allocations will be. I do have a Z06 on order that probably will be in later this year or early next year, as well as a Mustang Dark Horse and a couple other cars that are surprises. So if you like the content, I hope you'll stay with us and subscribe, like, and comment. The Nissan always brings a ton of interesting dialogue. I'm sure this video provokes some of that as well. But at least you're in the know. And again, thank you for following along and being so supportive. I love the SE-R community. It's probably one of my favorite groups of people out there. And again, thank you for the support and for watching. Have a great afternoon.